non-judicial sources that Human Rights Watch spoke with said that Customs Administration did not need judicial authorization to route the cargo, either by selling it, destroying it, or re-exporting it. They could have acted unilaterally to do so, but they never did.
Well, let's bring in Halim Shebaya, a political analyst and Middle East researcher. He's joining us now from Beirut. Halim, good to have you with us. So you will have read this report by Human Rights Watch. What's your assessment of what you've read so far?
Well, thanks for having me. While I haven't looked at the entire report in detail, but I've looked at the summary, and I think, as was mentioned by your guest prior to me, it really says in an elaborate document what a lot of the Lebanese people were saying after the explosion, especially in the two words that were used, they knew. The hashtag was they knew. And what was that hashtag referring to? It was referring to the fact that they knew, all of these Lebanese officials that were, most of whom I think were mentioned in the Human Rights Watch report, they knew about this ammonium nitrate shipment in a residential area, close to residential buildings, close to offices that destroyed the city. So I think this is, as I'm looking at the summary here, I think the importance of this report is that it identifies in detail who many of these people and ministries were, and it puts, if you want, a documentation and further credibility to that slogan that was used since a year by a lot of Lebanese people and organizations, which was they knew, and they should be held responsible. And it is unfathomable for these officials to still be in power today and to be trying to avoid accountability for such a travesty of justice and for the loss of lives that took place a year ago.
The report does name names, as you rightly mentioned, Halim, but I do wonder if any of the prosecutions, because there have been some prosecutions, but as we did mention, a judge who was looking into the investigation was then pushed aside because he was asking perhaps the wrong question or too many the right questions. So do you think that the prosecutions have gone far enough, and do you think there will be any legal recourse after this report, which, as you say, does mention a number of officials?
There's currently a very strong momentum, one of the strongest I've seen since in my time observing Lebanese politics and the Lebanese judicial issues, around the current investigative judge, Tariq Bitar, and the way in which he is dealing with the file, with the Beirut file investigations. And I think more important than my view is the view of the families of the victims associations, who have said that they trust Judge Bitar and the way in which the investigations are undergoing under his guidance or under his supervision. And worth noting here is that the main battle today is a battle to remove immunities from the members of parliament and from officials from security officials who Judge Bitar wants to question and wants to hold to account. And so really today we are at a key moment for Lebanese politics, for Lebanese judiciary, and for Lebanese society, which is, are these individuals whom Judge Bitar wants to accuse or investigate, and they have the right to a defense, obviously, and that's what all the Lebanese public, they want them to go in front of the judge and let them have later their defense in court. But the question is, are these individuals bigger or more important than the families of the victims and the victims who died at the Beirut port? And this is unfortunately the signals that they are giving to the Lebanese public. They are saying we are above reproach, we are above the law, we are more important than the firefighters who were killed, we are more important than the mother who was killed in front of her children. And I think this is a key issue. It's not a populist issue, it's not an emotional issue, it's a judicial issue, it's a political issue. There has to be accountability, and the culture of impunity that has reigned in Lebanon for 30 years has to stop.
Sorry, thank you very much for getting to the end of your point. I do appreciate your analysis. Thank you for being with Halim Shebaya from Beirut there.